Going into the 2024 election, Michigan had 500,000 more registered voters than we have voting age adults. Michigan is a slow or no growth state of 10 million people. So how did Jocelyn Benson find 750,000 new voters just between July and October? This might be a case of history repeating. You remember ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center. Officially, states joined ERIC to compare their voter rolls and eliminate duplicates. In reality, ERIC finds eligible but unregistered adults in each state, and member states are required to reach out to them. ERIC doesn't trim voter rolls, it helps inflate them. Until the ecosystem for voter fraud is killed off, the potential for stuffed ballot boxes will hang over the Michigan governor's race like a dark cloud.
I saw this video and I wondered to myself, is there some sort of robot system out in the country registering ghost voters? Is that really what's going on? And is Michigan at the center of it? Now, I know a great deal about Michigan and their voting systems because on January 6, 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene and I were tasked with presenting the case that Michigan's electors should be rejected. And our basis for those claims were truly rooted in an inability in some places in Michigan to accurately and timely reconcile the voter rolls to the voters cast. The number of voters that were registered and the votes cast. Those things should be able to reconcile. And when reasonable people were saying, gosh, you've got this many voters and this many votes and it doesn't all really add up, they were just called racists until they agreed to certify the electoral count and send that to the United States Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene and I believed that was worthy of further review, especially because at the major center in Detroit, where a lot of these ballots were collected, there were different chain of custody rules than in other places in Michigan. Urban centers should not have diminished chain of custody just because they are urban centers. That creates an ecosystem for fraud. We've heard frequently that creating a voter registration dynamic where people aren't intending to actually participate in elections, but they become eligible voters nonetheless, is the first step to getting that fraud ultimately executed. And the second step would be indiscriminate mail-out voting, mail-out ballots, to the voters that weren't even intending to be registered. And once those two things happen, it's just about ballot harvesting, collection, and ultimately the degradation of our election process. Joining us now is James Dixon, the host of the James Dixon podcast, and he's been following the story closely. James, tell us, what is this Erica computer system, and is there risk that it's actually registering voters who don't intend to do the thing of registration?
Yeah, Matt, great to see your face. So ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information System, essentially 25 states are in this, and it keeps voter rolls for all those states. And officially, when states sign up with ERIC, the idea is, hey, if me and state B have the same voter, we're going to figure out, which one should cut them off the rolls. And so it's presented as a matter of efficiency. But what I find is that ERIC does just as much, if not more, to inflate voter rolls. They give these reports to member states called eligible but unregistered. So basically, you need to go out and reach these adults that we've informed you about and try to get them to register. So this is how our voter rolls get bigger by a program that was supposed to thin them out.
And is there a belief that in some states they use systems with that information that ERIC provides to go and register people, even if that person doesn't intend to be registered?
Well, they reach out, and so like what happened in 2020.
Okay.
This happened right before the election. September 2020, ERIC reaches out to Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and says, hey, we found 700,000 people who could be registered to vote in Michigan but are not registered. Now, given that this is a state that registers you to vote when you get your driver's license, when you do pretty much anything involving state government, it's highly unlikely you'd find 10% of the voting population on the eve of a highly participated election. But that's what happened. And so that's the story of ERIC, is these reports grow your voter rolls over time, even with people who shouldn't necessarily be voting.
There is a lot of competition for this designation, but I actually believe that Jocelyn Benson might be the worst Secretary of State in the entire country. As you are closely watching the election integrity dynamic in Michigan, what are you observing?
There's righteous concern. I mean, so we all went into 2024 knowing it had to be too big to rig, right? But because going into Election Day, we had 500,000 more people registered to vote in Michigan than we had voting age adults. So that's just 500,000 votes of bloat, possible fraud. Then what we learned during the election is we had a Chinese voter, Ho Ching Gao. He signed up in Ann Arbor and voted the very same day. Just one problem, he's not an American citizen. And his vote counted, by the way. And the way the story was reported, it was basically came out that had this man not self-reported, he would have never been caught in the first place.
Wow. Well, do you think that the Republicans in Michigan are doing enough? And with the power they have, can they do more to see that the state runs a clean election?
You know, with the power they have is the important caveat. Republicans control the House in Michigan, but not the Senate, not the governor's office, not the Secretary of State office. So the line I'm using is we have to win it to fix it. Already we've seen a candidate for governor, Eric Nesbitt. He's a state senator. He's asked the feds to come in and run the 2026 election because, by the way, Jocelyn Benson will be administering the election while running for governor. So you already got a conflict of interest. Add in those fat voter rolls, and everybody better keep their eyes peeled all 2026.
No, we're glad you're watching it closely. We think very highly of Senator Nesbitt, and also a big Senate race in Michigan as well. We hope for a clean election and a just result. James Dixon, host of the James Dixon podcast. Thanks as always for joining us.
Thank you, Matt.